What is an adult life equivalent of calling your teacher mom? This happened to a coworker years and years ago. We were tellers at a local bank. Every Christmas we had tiny candy canes to give to the kids of customers. One guy came through with his transactions. He had cash back. Teller 1 was helping him. She proceeds to give him his cash in a 100 bill and the candy cane for his kid. He looks at her and says, "Can I have that broken up?" She then proceeds to bash the candy cane to a pulp with my stapler and gives it back to him. Teller 2 just looked at her after the dude said thanks and drove off and said, "I think he meant the 100 bill." I will remember this story forever. Edit. Thanks for the gold. This is my very favorite story from working there. We had a good group. I still love those people. I've worked in restaurants since I was 16. When I bring someone to a table I say enjoy. After any drink or plate of food I put down at a table I do the same. Well, I guess it was just inevitable that when a man asked me where the washroom was and I directed him, that I told him to enjoy. I work in a prison where I have occasionally have a inmate say alright officer Imokid have a good night drive home safe, hit him with the thanks you too. Multiple life sentences. My first silver, thanks yeah. I once saw a flustered young lawyer address a judge as "Oh Lord." He was a big church person and had kinda fallen into a prayer cadence as he nervously argued. Everyone pretended it had not happened. When talking with family we always end our calls with "I love you." So I'm on a call with my longtime assistant, and as the call ends without thinking I say "hello" and stop horrified as I couldn't think of how to finish it. Thank God she had a sense of humor. She said, "AWW, come on now, you can say it, go ahead, tell me you love me." So I did, and we laughed about 4 years. Well, I've accidentally rubbed the back of some random chick at Walmart thinking she was my wife before. Calling your wife mom is pretty bad. I did that once almost 20 years ago, and the cringe hasn't lessened over time. Edit. We never had kids, so it's not like anyone else was calling her mom. So, yeah. Super awkward. Yay. I had a coworker who would jokingly call our chief Big Daddy behind his back. We were all working a little late one night, and she let "Hey Big Daddy" slip as he walked in. To her credit she owned it, and now calls him that in regular conversation. Still weird though. I once called an older female coworker mom, because she kinda looks and gives off a vibe like my mom. I'm one of those never save numbers in my phone kinda guys. When I was in the army, I was stationed somewhere with a different area code than mine, and got to talking to a local girl. Things were getting heated one night over text, so we were sending raunchy things back and forth. I wasn't paying attention for a moment and sent a message to the wrong person by mistake. My sergeant replied, "Alright, I'm not really into all that, but make sure you show up to formation in the morning." At Dollar Tree the other day my boyfriend walked up to the cashier and she said almost immediately, "How was your meal?" and then, "Oh, wrong job." Not me, but my mom. She was in a meeting and not paying attention for whatever reason. Then someone asked her a question and she responded with, "What's that, honey?" Made me crack up for so long. My old boss and my husband's names were one letter apart. I worked in a daycare, so the owner and all the staff often texted one another to update each other on kids, any issues parents had, and general questions. My husband was working third, and I was working first. We didn't get to see each other much, and most of our conversation was done via text. On my very first week, I was in a rush after getting into work and texted my husband the same thing I always texted him when I got into work. "Hey babe, I'm here. I hope your night was as awesome as you are 3. I love you so much. Your dinner is in the crock pot." When I went on break, I checked my phone. Nothing back from my husband, but my boss had texted me. It read, "Love you too. Mwah." I was so confused until I looked back at the messages and realized I had sent her the text meant for my husband. Changed her contact name to boss after that one. Thank God she had a good sense of humor about it. My friend was on a toilet. Someone knocked and she said, "Come in." Edit. Thanks for silver, kind stranger. I have accidentally said, "love you" when hanging up on a work call. Mixing up text messages between your wife and boss. I'm a teacher. I unthinkingly scolded my dog the other day with, "follow the directions." We kinda just stared at each other for a second while I realized how ridiculous I sounded. These days I rarely talk on the phone to anyone who isn't family, so "love you" bye is a standard phone call ending. We had some issues at our house last year, and I'm pretty sure I told 2 contractors and the insurance adjuster I loved them. Edit. Thanks to all who posted to let me know I'm not the only one. I love you all. I'm a dental hygienist. My patient was a man who had just turned 91 the day before. Instead of saying happy late birthday, like a normal fucking human being, I accidentally, and very loudly, said happy last birthday, asterisk asterisk. The look on his face, y'all. This was also my second day at my new job. Edit. To answer everyone's question on if he's still alive, I have no idea. This happened about 2 months ago, so I won't be scheduled to see him until sometime in July. Fingers crossed he comes back, or I'm going to feel even worse. Also, thank you for the gold and silver, but please see you put that towards a charity of your choosing instead. My idiocy doesn't need rewarding. I referred to the pediatrician as a veterinarian for the first year or 2 of our kid's life. Even did it in the office, and over the phone with staff. Yes, we had pets long before we had kids. Thankfully, they claimed to find it charming, and reported I wasn't the first to make the mistake. My husband has mixed up my and his sister's name more than once. Also, calling your kids the pet's name. Walking up to the wrong car, and freaking out when you can't unlock it. Going on autopilot, and coming terrifyingly close to giving my short female employees nudges, like I do my daughters. I was given a lift home by a colleague from work once, and when he stopped to let me out of the car I leaned in for a kiss, as it was what I would do to my wife. Thankfully he was looking the other way at the time. Once I was in the airport and I went to get a sandwich. I stood at the counter to tell the worker to give me a turkey sandwich, which he prepared. He handed it to me, and his co-worker noticed he didn't microwave it, so he extended his hand to me over those glass container thingies, which have food displayed in them, so he can take it to microwave it. I didn't understand why he was extending his hand, so I smiled and shook it. He laughed and pointed at my food, and told me he has to heat it. I felt dumb as hell. I once went to the wrong floor of my apartment building, and tried to open the wrong apartment. I stood there jiggling the door knob for a few minutes, before realizing what I'd done, and fucking booking it up the stairs before the resident came out, to see WTF was happening. On the way back from a client meeting with one of the partners, he wasn't paying attention, when the light turned green, and I said, "Hey, babe, you gotta go." And then I died. If you are a teacher, calling your students by their older brother/sister's name, that you had, before in your class. Edit. Thanks for the silver. I called my housekeeper Daddy instead of Darcy. It was an autocorrect mistake in a text, but I didn't notice for 24 hours. When I realized she never texted me back, I was absolutely mortified, but she thought it was hilarious. When she texted me 2 weeks later, her opening line was "Adorehas your daddy, DEUR. I actually lost my mind in a meeting reading that. She's the sweetest older lady, and now my nickname for her is Daddy. Handed a 20 to the officer instead of my license last night. Edit. Thanks for the gold, friend. Video. Story. I was the DD, so we leave a friend's house and sit in the car. Then before I can even turn on the car, the officer pulls up shining the light, so I walk where he can see me from a distance and ask if I can approach. Ask him what's going on. He says I can't discuss that as of yet and asks for my ID. Nervously hand him a 20. And he looks at me like I was an idiot, which I don't blame him. Says I don't need this right now, give me a rid. We talk for a bit, looking for an armed perp. He then walks around my car and looks inside, then, after riding everyone, he says sorry about the trouble, have a good night. Signing an email, best retards. Ending a phone call with a client or colleague with love you. Answering your personal phone with your work phone greeting. When a customer is leaving the restaurant and he says to me have a good night, love you, and I, God help me, say love you too, take care. Then we spend a silent moment just looking at each other and both turn away at the same time, never to discuss it again. My boss is old enough to be my dad, although his kids are younger than me. Sometimes he reminds me of my dad, and I have almost told him oh okay Chip, my dad's name, in a sarcastic I don't agree with you tone. Once when we were having a we don't agree about something conversation that had to do with our other leader, he slipped and called me his daughter's name while giving me advice. He wasn't telling me I had to do what he was saying, but was sharing why he thought I should. It really made me feel that he was genuinely giving me the best advice he could. I still didn't agree, but I did take his advice. I know this is exactly an answer to the question, but life has been a little hard lately, and typing out a nice moment made me feel a bit better, so I'm going to leave it. Easy, calling your boss daddy. Does putting veggies in the washing machine instead of the fridge count? Edit. Hey everyone, thanks for the likes. I'm so happy RN. And also thanks to the kind internet stranger for giving me my first gold. Calling your girlfriend by your ex's name. Tossing the plate of pizza rolls onto the couch rather than your phone.